The research ship moved slowly through the dark space between stars. Captain Lisa Grant stood on the bridge, watching the distant lights of unknown worlds through the main window. Her ship, the New Horizon, was small compared to the massive trade vessels that carried goods across the galaxy. But it was perfect for what she needed to do. "Captain, we're getting close to the target location," said Jake Murphy from his station. The young engineer had joined her crew only 6 months ago, but he was already one of the best she had worked with. His fingers moved quickly over the control panel as he guided the ship toward their destination. Dr. Peter Kim looked up from his research station. The archaeologist had been studying star charts for weeks, searching for clues about the ancient civilization they were investigating. "The ruins should be on the 3rd planet of this system," he said. "The energy readings we detected from long range are still there." Commander Ross, the team's other archaeologist, floated over to join them. In the low gravity of the ship, moving around was more like swimming than walking. "I've been thinking about those energy readings," she said. "They're too regular to be natural. Something down there is still working after all these years." Lisa nodded. For 200 years, humans had been exploring the galaxy as peaceful scientists and traders. They had found the ruins of many dead civilizations, but most were cold and empty. Finding something that still had power was rare and exciting. The ship entered orbit around the 3rd planet. It was a dead world, covered in gray dust and broken cities. But their instruments showed that deep underground something was still active. "Take us down to the surface," Lisa ordered. "Let's see what secrets this place is hiding." As they landed near the largest ruins, none of them knew that their discovery would change everything. Hidden in the depths of the ancient city was a communication array that had been waiting for thousands of years. It was still listening to the galaxy, still ready to pass along messages from one world to another. Far across the galaxy, on the peaceful world of Zalani Prime, Commander Veltar watched the stars with growing fear. His people had been traders and explorers for as long as anyone could remember. They had never known war, never needed weapons beyond simple tools for hunting and protection. But now something terrible was coming. The first reports had seemed impossible. Entire worlds going silent. Whole star systems disappearing from contact. The Galactic Council had sent investigation teams, but none had returned. Now the scouts were reporting something that made Veltar's blood run cold. Ships. Thousands of them.
Moving through space like a living swarm?
They were not made of metal and plastic like normal ships. They looked grown rather than built, with surfaces that pulsed like living skin. And wherever they went, nothing survived. The Devourers had awakened from their long sleep in the dark spaces between galaxies. They moved from world to world, consuming everything they found. Plants, animals, people, even the minerals in the ground, all became food for their endless hunger. What they consumed became part of them, added to their growing mass of ships and soldiers. Veltar's communication officer, a young female named Zara, turned to him with fear in her large eyes. "Commander, we're receiving the final transmission from the Keth system. They're screaming." The sounds that came from the speakers were horrible. Voices crying out in pain and terror, then sudden silence. Another world had fallen to the Devourers. "How long until they reach us?" Veltar asked. Zara's hand shook as she worked at her console. "At their current speed, perhaps 2 months. Maybe less." Veltar closed his eyes. The Zalani had no weapons that could stop the Devourers. The Galactic Council's peacekeeping forces had been destroyed in the first attacks. No one in the galaxy had the power to fight these creatures, but there were stories. Old stories about a species that had once been different, before they became peaceful traders and scientists. Before they chose the path of harmony with all life, the humans had been something else. They had been warriors. "Send out the distress call," Veltar ordered. "Broadcast it on all frequencies, to every world in the galaxy. Maybe someone will hear us. Maybe someone will help." The message went out across space, carried by quantum transmitters and relay stations. It traveled from world to world, growing weaker with each jump. Most of the galaxy heard it and felt helpless. What could anyone do against the Devourers? But one ancient relay station, hidden in the ruins of a dead world, received the message. The station had been built by a civilization that had fought the Devourers before. thousands of years ago. It knew what the message meant. It knew who might be able to help. The station processed the message and sent it along a special channel, one that led to Earth. On Earth, in a room deep beneath the surface, Admiral Helen Carter sat at her desk reading reports. The reports were boring trade agreements, scientific discoveries, cultural exchanges. This was the kind of work that humans did now. They were the galaxy's peacemakers, the ones who helped settle disputes and build bridges between different species. But today, something different appeared on her screen. A priority message from deep space, marked with codes that had not been used for 2 centuries. Carter's hands trembled as she read the message. It was a call for help, a desperate plea from a dying species. The Devourers had returned, and the galaxy was helpless before them. She stood up slowly and walked to the wall of her office. Behind a hidden panel was a single red button. She had hoped never to see it used. Every human leader for the past 200 years had hoped the same thing. The button would activate the Awakening Protocol. It would open the sealed facilities where humanity's greatest warriors slept in frozen silence. It would wake the giants from their long sleep. Carter's finger hovered over the button. She pressed it, there would be no going back. The peaceful humans of today would have to face the warriors of yesterday. The galaxy would learn that humanity had not forgotten how to fight. She thought about the message from the Zilani. Billions of innocent people facing death. Entire worlds being consumed by an enemy that could not be reasoned with or stopped by peaceful means. Carter pressed the button deep beneath the surface of 12 worlds. Alarms began to sound. Lights came on in chambers that had been dark for centuries. Machines hummed to life, beginning the slow process of awakening those who slept within. The giants were stirring. Soon they would wake. The first thing Colonel Ryan Shaw felt was cold. Deep, bone-cutting cold that seemed to reach into his very soul. Then came the pain as his body slowly came back to life after 200 years of frozen sleep. His eyes opened a bright white. Lights and the sound of machines working around him. Medical scanners beeped as they checked his vital signs. His enhanced body was already healing itself, repairing the small damage that came from such a long sleep. "Welcome back, Colonel Shaw," said a voice beside him. Ryan turned his head to see a woman in a white coat holding a data pad. She looked soft, like all the humans he was starting to remember from the end of the old wars. "I'm Dr. Susan Clark. I'm here to help you adjust to your awakening." Ryan sat up slowly, his muscles remembering their strength. His body was not like a normal human's body. The genetic changes made during the enhancement wars had given him speed, strength, and reflexes far beyond what nature intended. He was built for war. "How long?" he asked, his voice rough from the long sleep. 212 years, Dr. Clark said gently. "The world has changed greatly, Colonel. Humanity chose the path of peace after the last wars ended." Ryan looked. Around the medical bay, everything was clean and white and peaceful. Through a window, he could see a garden with flowers and small trees. It was beautiful, but it made him feel strange. This was not the world he remembered. "Where are my men?" he asked. "They're being awakened in other facilities across human space," Dr. Clark explained. "Sergeant Maya Bell and Corporal Nick Davis are in this same building. They should be conscious within the hour." As if hearing her name, Maya Bell opened her eyes in a chamber nearby. She was smaller than Ryan, but just as deadly. Her enhancement had focused on speed and tactical thinking. She could process a battlefield in seconds and find the weakness. "In any enemy formation," "Ryan," she called out, her voice weak, but growing stronger. "I'm here, Maya," he replied. The sound of his old friend's voice made him feel more like himself. "We're awake." Nick Davis stirred in his chamber. The young corporal had been the newest member of their team when they went to sleep. His enhancement had given him incredible accuracy with any weapon and the ability to see clearly in complete darkness. Dr. Clark moved between them, checking their medical readings. "Your bodies are responding well to the awakening process," she said. "But I need to prepare you for what you're going to learn about the current situation." Over the next hour, more warriors awakened in facilities around the galaxy. Each one had been chosen from humanity's greatest soldiers during the enhancement wars, Each one had volunteered to sleep until they were needed again. Ryan and his team were brought to a briefing room where Admiral Helen Carter waited for them. She looked tired and worried, nothing like the military commanders Ryan remembered from the old days. Colonel Shaw, Admiral Carter, said, "I'm sorry we had to wake you." By Carter activated a holographic display that showed the galaxy. Red dots marked worlds that had gone silent. There were hundreds of them, and more appeared even as they watched. "The Devourers have returned," Carter said. "They're consuming entire star systems. The Galactic Council's forces were destroyed in the first encounters. No conventional military can stop them." Maya Bell studied the display with her tactical mind already working. "What kind of enemy are we facing?" "In our records," Carter replied. She showed them video footage from the first battles. The team watched in silence as swarms of organic ships overwhelmed fleets of modern vessels. The Devourers moved like a living thing, flowing around enemy formations and consuming everything they touched. "They turn consumed matter into new ships and soldiers," Carter explained. "Every world they take makes them stronger. Every battle they win gives them more resources." McDavis leaned forward. "What about our weapons, our ships?" "That's the problem," Carter said. "Humanity dismantled most of its military after the peace accords. We have some defensive ships, but nothing like what you're used to. We're going to have to build new weapons fast." Ryan stood up and walked to the holographic display. He studied the Devourer attack patterns, his enhanced mind analyzing their movements. Even after 200 years of sleep, his tactical skills were sharp. "They're not random," he said finally. "They're following specific routes through space. They're hunting something or heading towards something." "The research team that first detected them found an ancient weapon," Carter said. "A planet killer. Built by a civilization that fought the Devourers before. Captain Lisa Grant and her team are trying to activate it, but they need time." Maya Bell looked at the display, showing the advancing Devourers. "How much time do we have?" 2 months, maybe less, before they reach the core worlds," Carter replied. "We're retrofitting the old warship Thunder's Edge for your use. Captain Alex Stone will command the vessel." Ryan turned to his team. Maya and Nick were watching him, waiting for his decision. They had followed him through the worst battles of the Enhancement Wars. They trusted him to lead them again. But something was wrong. These modern humans around them seemed weak, too soft for war. They talked about peace and cooperation, while an enemy that understood only consumption was destroying the galaxy. Admiral Ryan said, "I need to ask you something important. Are you sure humanity is ready for what we're about to do? War isn't clean or pretty. It's brutal and ugly, and it changes everyone who fights it." Carter met his eyes. "I hope we never get used to it again," she said. "But right now, brutal and ugly might be the only thing that can save innocent lives." Ryan nodded. "And we'll do what we were made to do. Don't expect us to be the same humans you're used to. We're weapons, Admiral. And weapons are meant to be used as if to prove his point." Alarms began sounding throughout the facility. A communication officer rushed into the room with an urgent message. "Admiral, we just lost contact with the Zilani outer colonies. The Devourers are moving faster than predicted." Ryan looked at his team. They were ready. After 200 years of sleep, the giants were awake. Soon, the galaxy would remember what humanity had once been capable of. The Thunder's Edge cut through space like a knife through dark water. Captain Alex Stone stood on the bridge of the old warship, watching the stars ahead. The ship had been in storage for over a century, but human engineers had worked day and night to bring it back to fighting condition. Behind him, Colonel Ryan Shaw studied tactical displays showing the Zilani star system. What he saw made his enhanced mind calculate terrible numbers. Entire worlds had gone silent. Billions of people were either dead or worse. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the Zilani fleet," reported the communication officer. "It's Commander Veltar." The main screen flickered to life, showing a tall alien with large eyes and smooth gray skin. The Zilani looked tired. And afraid? Behind him, Ryan could see the bridge of an alien ship that was clearly not built for war. "Human vessel? This is Commander Veltar of the Zilani Defense Fleet," the alien said. "We did not expect military ships to answer our distress call. We thought humans were peaceful traders." Captain Stone glanced at Ryan, who stepped forward. "Commander Veltar, I am Colonel Shaw. We received your message about the Devourers. We're here to help." Veltar's large eyes showed confusion. "Humans don't fight wars. Your people have been peaceful for centuries." "Some of us have been sleeping," Ryan said simply. "What's your current situation?" The screen split to show a tactical map of the Zilani system. Red markers showed Devourer forces moving through space like a plague. Only a few dozen Zilani ships remained, and they were retreating toward their homeworld. "We lost 3 colonies yesterday," Veltar said, his voice breaking. "The Devourers, they don't just kill, they consume everything. Our people, our cities, even the ground itself becomes part of their swarm." Maya Bell moved to Ryan's side, her tactical mind already processing the battle data. "How many ships do they have?" "We stopped counting at 10,000, Veltar replied. "They keep growing. Every world they take gives them more material to build new vessels." Nick Davis studied the display through his enhanced vision. Even from this distance, he could see the organic shapes of Devourer ships moving between the planets. They pulsed. With sickly light, like diseased hearts beating in the darkness. "We need to see them up close," Ryan decided. "Captain Stone, take us in for reconnaissance." "Stealth approach? Are you insane?" Veltar's voice came from the speakers. "They destroyed an entire Galactic Council fleet in less than an hour. Your single ship cannot fight them." Ryan smiled, but it was not a kind smile. "Commander, you don't know what humans used to be capable of." The Thunder's Edge moved closer to the Devourer swarm, using advanced stealth technology to avoid detection. Through the ship's sensors, Ryan and his team got their first real look at the enemy, the Devourer. Ships were nothing like normal vessels. They were grown rather than built, with surfaces that rippled like living skin. Some were as large as cities, covered in weapon pods that looked like giant teeth. Others were smaller and faster, darting between the larger ships like hungry fish. "It's God," whispered Dr. Susan Clark, who had come along to monitor the warrior's psychological state. "They're alive." "Not alive," Maya corrected, studying the sensor readings. "But not dead either. There's something in between. Each ship is part of a larger organism." Ryan watched as a group of smaller Devourer ships approached a Zilani colony. Ship that was trying to escape. The alien vessel fired its few defensive weapons. But the energy beams seemed to be absorbed by the organic hulls. The Devourer ships surrounded the colony vessel, like predators surrounding prey. Tentacle-like appendages reached out and began tearing the hull apart. Through the breach, thousands of small creatures poured into the ship. "Those aren't soldiers," Nick observed, his enhanced eyes seeing details that normal humans would miss. "They're more like antibodies." The whole swarm acts like a single immune system. Colony ships' distress calls filled the communication channels. Ryan listened to the screams and pleas for help, his jaw tightening. These were innocent people, being torn apart by creatures that saw them as nothing more than food. "Captain Stone, prepare for combat," Ryan ordered. "Sir, there are thousands of them," Stone replied. "We're just one ship, and we'll have to be enough," Ryan said. He turned to his team. "Maya, I need you to analyze their formation. Find me a weakness. Nick, prepare the weapons systems. Suzanne, you might want to look away." Ryan's fingers moved over the tactical controls with inhuman speed. His enhanced reflexes and combat experience took over as he planned their attack. The peaceful humans around him watched in fascination and horror as the warrior they had awakened showed his true nature. There, Maya said, pointing to a gap in the Devourer formation. They're focused on the colony ship. If we hit them from the side, we can break their attack pattern. We do it, Ryan ordered. The Thunder's Edge dropped its stealth field and accelerated toward the Devourer swarm. The ship's weapons, upgraded with the best technology humanity could build, began firing at maximum power. The first shots caught the Devourers by surprise. Human plasma beams tore through organic holes, causing several smaller ships to explode in bursts of green fire. But the swarm reacted quickly, turning toward this new threat. Incoming, Nick reported as dozens of Devourer ships moved to intercept them. Let them come, Ryan said. God's hands moved over the controls like a musician playing a deadly song. The Thunder's Edge twisted through space, voiding enemy weapons while returning fire with surgical precision. But Ryan knew he couldn't win a straight fight against such numbers. This was just the beginning. They needed to learn how these creatures fought, how they thought, how they could be stopped, as the battle raged around them. Captain Lisa Grant's voice came over the communication system from the ancient ruins where she was working. Colonel Shaw, we've made progress on the weapon. There's something you need to know. The device requires a living human consciousness to operate it. Someone will have to interface directly with the ancient technology. Ryan fired another volley at an approaching Devourer's ship, watching it dissolve into green mist. What kind of interface, Captain? The kind that might not let you come back, Grant replied. Ryan looked at his team, then at the Devourer swarm that seemed to stretch across the entire star system. Somewhere in that mass of organic ships were millions of consumed beings, their consciousness trapped in a living nightmare. Then we better make it count, he said. The Zalani homeworld burned beneath a sky filled with enemy ships. Colonel Ryan Shaw dropped from the Thunder's Edge in a combat pod, followed by his team and 50 other enhanced warriors who had been awakened across human space. As soon as Ryan's boots hit the ground, he could smell death in the air. The Devourers had been consuming the planet for 3 days. What had once been a beautiful world of crystal cities and floating gardens was now a wasteland of twisted organic growth. Maya, give me a tactical assessment. Ryan ordered into his communication device. Sergeant Maya Bell landed nearby, her enhanced mind already processing the battlefield. They're not just consuming the planet, she reported. They're changing. The ground itself is becoming part of their organism. Ryan looked around and saw that she was right. The soil beneath their feet pulsed with veins of green light. Trees had been replaced by tall structures that looked like nerve endings. The very air seemed to move with purpose. Colonel Shaw, this is Captain Grant, came a voice from orbit. The ancient weapon is almost ready, but Dr. Kim needs more time to establish the neural link. Can you hold your position? We'll hold, Ryan replied.
Dot.
As he spoke, he watched thousands of Devourer creatures pouring from the organic structures around them. They moved like a tide of living darkness, each one no bigger than a human, but moving with deadly purpose. The enhanced warriors formed a defensive circle around the area. Where Captain Grant's team was working with the ancient weapon, Davis took position on a high ridge, his enhanced vision picking out targets in the swarm below. Contact, Nick reported, and his rifle began speaking with deadly accuracy. Each shot found its mark, dropping Devourer creatures with precision that would have been impossible for a normal human. But for every creature Nick killed, 10 more took its place. The swarm flowed toward them like water, adapting to their tactics. With frightening speed, they're learning, Maya observed as she coordinated the defense. Each time we use a tactic, they counter it faster than before. Ryan drew his sidearm and began firing into the approaching mass. His enhanced reflexes let him move and shoot faster than any normal human, but even he could see that conventional weapons were not enough. Fall back to the secondary perimeter, he ordered. We need to buy more time. The warriors retreated in good order, each one covering the others as they moved. But Ryan could see the strain on their faces. They were fighting an enemy that seemed infinite, an enemy that grew stronger with each passing moment. Dr. Susan Clark, who'd insisted on joining the ground mission, worked frantically at a portable computer. "Ryan, I'm monitoring your biosigns. The combat stress is pushing your enhancements to dangerous levels." "We don't have a choice," Ryan replied, reloading his weapon. Around him, other warriors were showing signs of the same problem. Their genetic modifications had made them perfect soldiers, but the constant fighting was wearing them down. Corporal Nick Davis suddenly stopped firing. "Colonel, you need to see this." Ryan moved to Nick's position and looked through the snipers. Scope. In the distance, he could see devourer creatures that were different from the others. These moved with more purpose, more intelligence. "Those aren't just consumption units," Maya said, studying the new creatures through her tactical viewer, or coordinating the attack. "Command units?" Ryan made a decision that would have horrified the peaceful humans of modern Earth. "Take half the team and hit those command units. Use whatever force necessary." "What about the civilians still trapped in the city?" Dr. Clark asked. Ryan looked at her with eyes that had seen too much war. "If we don't stop the swarm here, there won't be any civilians left to save." Maya led her team in a brutal assault on the Devourer command units. The enhanced warriors fought with skills and tactics that had been banned for 2 centuries. They used weapons that turned living creatures into vapor, explosives that could level city blocks, combat techniques that were designed to destroy enemies completely. The Zalani survivors who watched the battle were amazed and terrified. These humans fought like demons, showing no mercy and taking no prisoners. But their brutal methods were working. The Devourer swarm began to falter as its command structure was destroyed. "Captain Grant, how much longer?" Ryan asked as he watched his warriors push deeper into enemy territory. "Dr. Kim is establishing the link now," Grant replied. "But Ryan, the process is killing him. The ancient technology is using his life force to power itself." Ryan felt a cold anger in his chest. Peter Kim was a good man, a peaceful researcher who had never hurt anyone. Now he was dying to save a galaxy that had forgotten how to protect itself. "Tell him we'll make it count," Ryan said. The ancient weapon came online with a sound like thunder. Energy beams reached out from the planet's surface, striking Devourer ships in orbit. Each beam caused an enemy vessel to simply disappear, turned into nothing more than scattered atoms. But the weapon needed constant guidance to choose its targets. Dr. Kim, connected to the alien technology, was the one making those choices. Each choice was costing him part of his life. "Ryan," came Maya's voice over the communication system. "We've captured some of the command units. You need to see what's inside them." Ryan fought his way to Maya's position, where his warriors had cornered several of the larger Devourer creatures. Up close, he could see that the organic armor was transparent in places, revealing what lay within. Inside each creature were dozens of smaller forms. They looked like the beings the Devourers had consumed, but changed, twisted into something new. Ryan realized with horror that the Devourers didn't just kill their victims. They trapped them, made them part of the swarm. "They're still alive." "And there," Maya said quietly, "all the people the Devourers have taken. They're still conscious, still aware, but unable to control their own bodies." Dr. Clark studied the captured creatures with her medical scanner. The consciousness remains intact, but it's been integrated into the Devourer collective. They can see and hear everything, but they can't fight back. Ryan stared at the creatures, thinking about the billions of beings trapped in the same nightmare. The Devourers weren't just predators. They were collectors, building an army of unwilling slaves from everyone they consumed. "There has to be a way to free them," he said. Maybe Dr. Clark replied, "but it would require someone to interface directly with the Devourer collective consciousness. Let's go inside their network and break it from within." Ryan looked up at the sky, where the ancient weapon continued to fire at enemy ships. Dr. Kim was dying to operate one weapon. Now they needed someone to sacrifice themselves for an even more dangerous mission. "Colonel," came Captain Grant's voice, "Dr. Kim says the weapon can target the main Devourer command ship, but only if someone can get close enough to guide the beam. It would be a suicide mission." Ryan checked his ammunition and looked at his team. Maya and Nick were waiting for his orders, ready to follow him anywhere. Even after everything they had seen, even knowing the cost, they were still willing to fight. "Then let's end this," Ryan said. Colonel Ryan Shaw stood in the command center of the largest Devourer ship, surrounded by walls that pulsed like living flesh. Getting here had cost the lives of half his team, but they had succeeded in their mission. The ancient weapon was ready to fire, and Ryan was close enough to guide its beam, but he had chosen a different path. Instead of calling for the weapon to destroy the ship, Ryan had connected himself to the Devourer collective consciousness. Cables made of organic material were attached to his enhanced nervous system, allowing him to communicate directly with the hive mind. The experience was like drowning in an ocean of screaming voices. Billions of consumed beings cried out from within the collective, their individual thoughts trapped in the vast network of the Devourer consciousness. Ryan could feel their pain, their fear, their desperate hope for freedom. "Maya, can you hear me?" Ryan spoke into his communication device, though his voice sounded strange now, echoing with harmonics from the collective. "I'm here," Ryan came. Maya Bell's reply from the planet below. "Your biosigns are going crazy. What's happening up there?" "I'm inside their network," Ryan said. "I can see everything they've consumed. Every world, every person. They're all still here, still aware." Through the collective, Ryan could sense the main Devourer consciousness. It was ancient and alien, but also familiar in a horrible way. Devourers had once been like any other species, but something had gone wrong with their evolution. They had become trapped in their own biology, unable to stop consuming, unable to die. "The weapon is ready," came Captain Grant's voice. "Act!" Kim gave his life to prepare it. "Just give us the target coordinates." Ryan closed his eyes and reached deeper into the collective. He could feel the connections between all the Devourer ships, all the consumed worlds, all the trapped consciousness. If he could find the right point, the right weakness, he might be able to do something that had never been done before. "Maya, I need you to listen carefully," Ryan said. "I'm not going to call for the weapon to destroy them. I'm going to try." "To free them?" "Ryan, no," Maya replied. "That's suicide. The collective will consume you." "Maybe," Ryan said. "But if I can break their connection, if I can give all those trapped people their freedom back, it might be worth it." Ryan began to push his consciousness deeper into the network. His enhanced mind, designed for tactical analysis and combat, proved surprisingly useful for navigating the alien thought patterns. He could see the structure of the collective, understand how it held billions of minds in slavery, the main Devourer. Consciousness noticed his presence and tried to consume him as it had consumed so many others. But Ryan's enhanced willpower, trained through years of warfare, resisted the attempt. "You cannot fight us," the collective spoke to him in a voice made of countless screams. "We are eternal. We are necessary. We preserve consciousness forever." "You preserve prison?" Ryan replied, his own voice now mixing with the billions of trapped voices around him. "You trap people in their own bodies and call it salvation." Ryan found what he was looking for. Deep in the network was the original Devourer consciousness, the first mind that had started the collective. It was old and tired and desperately lonely. It had begun consuming others not from hunger, but from a need for companionship that had grown into an addiction. "You don't have to be alone," Ryan said to the original mind. "You can let them go. You can choose to be free." "If we let them go, we will die," the original consciousness replied. "We will be nothing." "Then be nothing," Ryan said. "Not sometimes dying is better than living like this." Ryan began to systematically disconnect the trapped minds from the collective. His enhanced reflexes and tactical thinking allowed him to move through the network faster than the collective could stop him. One by one, he freed the imprisoned consciousness. On the planet below, Maya watched in amazement as Devourer creatures began to stop moving. Some collapsed, finally dead after untold years of slavery. Others began to move differently, with individual purpose instead of collective drive. "It's working," she reported. "The swarm is breaking apart." But the process was destroying Ryan. Each mind he freed took part of his own consciousness with it. He could feel himself spreading across the network, becoming part of the system he was trying to destroy. "Ryan, your life signs are fading," Dr. Clark reported from her monitoring station. "You need to get out of there?" "Can't," Ryan replied, his voice now barely human. "Have to finish it." Have to free them all. Through the collective, Ryan could sense other human ships arriving. Admiral Carter had sent reinforcements, but they would be too late to save him. That was fine. This was what he had been made for. The ancient weapon fired one last time, not to destroy, but to amplify Ryan's signal throughout the Devourer network. His consciousness spread across thousands of ships, millions of creatures, billions of trapped minds, and then in a moment that would be remembered across the galaxy, the collective shattered. Devourer ships across dozens of star systems simply stopped. Some exploded as their organic systems failed. Others drifted in space as their crews regained individual consciousness for the first time in centuries. On the planet below, Maya Bell watched as former Devourer creatures stumbled around in confusion. Some were recognizable as species that had been consumed years ago. Others had been changed so much that their original forms were lost forever. Maya came a weak transmission from the command ship. It was Ryan's voice, but barely recognizable. Tell them we remembered how to fight. We also remembered how to choose. The transmission ended. Ryan Shaw, the last of humanity's war giants, was gone. Was gone. But his sacrifice had freed billions of beings from a nightmare that had lasted for thousands of years. In the months that followed, the galaxy struggled to deal with the aftermath. Some of the freed beings could be helped to rebuild their lives. Others were too damaged by their experience in the collective. A few chose to return to sleep, unable to cope with individual consciousness after so long as part of a hive mind. Admiral Carter stood in the memorial garden on Earth, reading the names of all the warriors who had died in the war. Name was at the top, followed by Dr. Peter Kim and dozens of others who had sacrificed everything for peace. Maya Bell had chosen to stay awake, working with Dr. Clark to help the freed beings adjust to their new lives. Nick Davis had returned to sleep, unable to find his place in a peaceful galaxy. The other enhanced warriors were scattered across human space, some awake, some sleeping, all changed by what they had experienced. The galaxy was safe, but it had learned a hard truth. Peace was not something that could be taken for granted. It had to be protected, sometimes by those willing to give up their own peace to preserve it for others. In hidden facilities across human space, new warriors slept in frozen chambers. They were volunteers, people who had chosen to give up normal lives to become humanity's guardians. The galaxy hoped they would never be needed, but the emergency beacons remained active, ready to wake the giants if darkness should ever threaten the light again.